That's right.
Welcome, everybody. It's nice to see my early birds. As we know, people will dribble in, but we start on time all the time. So, just quick, hello, Dr. Sharps. um, just just a quick update. Our RBTI, we're on our last RBTI class for this session, and our new RBTI class will be beginning in May. Now, we say our new RBTI class beginning in May because that is the live segment of it. As we know, we have the CROMP certification now that works just like our other programs. You work at your own pace. But that particular certificate program gives you 1 year to complete it. It's not just an ongoing one like the rest of them, because it has that live segment of hearing the lecture straight from Dr. Sharps, us working with your numbers, teaching you how to test so that you can be off and running when you're done. So just throwing that out there. I think that's the only announcement that I have right now. I welcome you all, and I'm very excited to hear Dr. Kimberly speak today. So, all the other announcement stuff, check the chat about supporting us and sharing it on your social networks so that we can get this information out to people. As we were talking, the basis of all that we share is very life-changing. No matter what religion you are, no matter what your dietary habits really are, when you learn about natural health, it can change your whole life. So without further ado, Dr. Kimberly, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me share my screen with you here. You can just let me know if you can see that. Can you see?
Yes, we do see the stuff on the side, so I don't know if you want to change it to.
Yeah, I can click that off there. Let's see. There we go. All right.
There you are.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I'm really excited about it. I am Dr. Kimberly Boehm. I am a 2022 graduate of the IIOM school, and I was very blessed beyond measure to have Dr. Elisa Sharps as my mentor as I worked through my program there and wrote my dissertation. So, yeah, excellent, excellent opportunity today. I was thrilled to be asked. So let's just jump right in. I want to give a shout out the gate to Dr. Jim Sharps. The information that I am sharing with you today is not original to me. This information comes from the Basic Principles of Total Health. The subtitle of that is it's featuring the hierarchy of nutrients. That's what we're going to be discussing today. This was required reading for any program at the IIOM, and I can tell you that this book was life-changing. So I would encourage you to write this down. You can probably still get it off of Amazon, or you could actually go on YouTube as well and look at some of the lectures that were given at the Remnant SDA Church. They've got some age on them. They were a few years ago, but what I love about that is that the information was true then, and it is still true today. But that would be 60 minutes well spent of your time if you wanted to go back and search for those lectures. But before we get started, could we open in prayer, please? Father, I thank you for the opportunity to speak with this group of people who have set time aside in their schedule to come and to learn, to share, and to support each other as we look at today's topic of the hierarchy of nutrients. I ask you to bless the words of my mouth, have me say what someone needs to hear, and refrain from anything that would be contrary to your will or your desire for us today. I ask you to open the ears of those listening and bring to their minds those seeking their help who could benefit from these teachings. We ask these things in the sovereign name of our Creator. Amen. All right, so let us start with, before we jump right into the hierarchy here, I want to talk about naturopathy in general, right? There are three basic principles to naturopathy. One is that the cause of disease is due to the accumulation of unnecessary wastes, which, if not removed, is going to cause poison retention in the body. Now, we know this is true, right? Even in the traditional Western medicine world, What they're going to do there is they're going to give what you have, your traditionally reliable cluster of symptoms. They're going to look into the insurance code book. They're going to give that a diagnosis, and then they're going to match a pharmaceutical drug to that. And that's how Western medicine is practiced, right? They're really kind of going after the symptoms there. But from a naturopathic standpoint, we know that it can really only be a few things, right? Either we're not giving the body what it needs, it's not getting the nutrition that it needs, or it's not offloading what it does not need and getting rid of the toxins, or there's something that has gone on, a disease process that has gone on too long, and the body is not able to return to a state of homeostasis unless, of course, God grants a miracle, which we know that he can. However, we now look at the fact that the body's always striving for the ultimate good of the individual. It wants to get back to a place of homeostasis. And oftentimes it can, if we can make those changes, giving it what it needs, taking away what it does not. And again, that given the proper environment, your body has the power to heal itself and return to homeostasis. Now, I have never healed anyone. I will never heal anyone. I give people information, and God heals as he will or not, right? And people go on to their last sleep there. But these are the principles of naturopathic medicine that we are trying to subscribe to. Okay. This is one of my favorite slides, and this is one of my favorite. This is on page 20 or 22, I believe, in Dr. Sharp's book, but the health continuum. What we're looking at here is the 4 different stages. We've got dynamic vitality. These are people that are in perfect health. They are symptom-free. Sadly, though, this is about 5% of the population, people who are just hitting on all cylinders. They're not taking any medications. They're doing great. They're exercising. They're eating properly. Then we go on to the optimum health group. These are people who are generally in good health. They may have a few symptoms, but this is about 15 or 20% of the population. Still not a lot when you think about it. And then the largest group is the suboptimum health. These are people that Dr. Sharps likes to call the walking sick, actually. I'll show you on the next slide, but it's so true, right? These are people who have chronic health conditions. Chronic in our world is anything that's been going on for 3 months or longer, right? You're probably taking a pharmaceutical drug for it, if not more than one. Now, also here, we've got debilitating illness, which these are people who have advanced illness. They have dependent care usually, and they may even be in a situation where they are in dependent care 24/7. Maybe they are stage 4 when it comes to their diagnoses, but this is the way that things typically lay out. And again, that suboptimum, that's the largest segment of the population. Now, this slide is the health continuum. This is view 2 of the same information we just saw, but it's, I like the little drawings on the side here, the man planting his flag at the top of the mountain, right? He's in dynamic vitality. This little guy is kicking his heels up. He's feeling pretty good. And then we get down here to the biggest part of the population, and then the advanced illness stage here. Pretty much how it lays out, though. Now, I want to introduce you to a new way of looking at disease, right? You've got your brain. Your brain is communicating with your body. How does it do that? It does that with blood, hormones, nutrients, nerves, and that energy, life force that is within us. But when our brain is communicating properly with our body, right? It is communicating with lungs, heart, adrenals, liver, every system of the body, your digestive system, endocrine system. And what it's doing is it's providing function of the body. When we're hitting on all cylinders like that group 1 people, we've got 100% normal function. When things are functioning perfectly, there is ease in the body. There is vital reserve, meaning we've got juice in the tank. right? We've got a strong immune system. Things come, things go. Our body resolves it and we move on. Now, the problem here is that people don't come to see me when everything is operating 100% normally. They've got ease. No. They come to me when they have symptoms, right? They've got symptoms. So, why do they have symptoms though, right? Because we could be like Western medicine and we could just treat symptoms, right? But we know from a naturopathic standpoint that the symptom is the last thing to show up. When a symptom shows up, it's because there is a lack of ease now in the body. Why is there a lack of ease? Because there's not complete 100% normal function any longer. So now there's dis-ease, there's malfunction, and there's symptoms. And I would say to you that although symptoms might be common, they are not normal. They are an indication that something is not right. So for us, while we might want to give some intelligent relief care to a symptom, we are more concerned with this group here, right? This group in the middle, the malfunction and the lack of ease. Now, for lack of a better word, we're going to call that just metabolic chaos because that's kind of really what it is. But, what do we do here? If you're in a medical model, you're going to get relief for the symptoms. You're going to get pills. You're going to get some sort of surgical intervention, perhaps, right? But again, that's not what we're going for because we know that if you just treat symptoms and you don't fix the problem continues to run in the background and you'll have symptoms for the next thing and the next and the next. So the paradigm that I use in my practice is that I try to resolve, what's happening with the function and let the symptoms resolve on their own, giving a little bit of intelligent relief care. So how do you do that, right? That metabolic chaos that we were talking about has to do with stress on the body. Now there is mental stress, right? Mental, emotional stress. And what is interesting about mental stress, right, is that can be real or it can be perceived. And what I mean by that is if you have words with someone, someone says something to you at work, it doesn't sit well with you, your body has a reaction to that. Your palms sweat, your stomach gets a little irritable, fluttery. But what happens is your body has that response. Well, at 5 o'clock when you go home, right, you are no longer in that situation. That person is not sitting in front of you any longer. You're not having that real scenario, but you're ruminating about it, right? And you're thinking on the way home, I can't believe this person said that to me. I should have said this. The next time they say that, I'm going to say this. But here's the problem with that. Your body and your brain has a hard time understanding whether that's really happening or whether you are just thinking about it, right? And we know there's a connection here because you see pro athletes all the time that will hire coaches to help them visualize hitting the golf ball well, visualize making a basket from the free throw line. So there's really something to that mental stress component here. So mental stress is a big one because we know it has an effect on the body. Now, biomechanical stress, that's physical stress on the body. That could be old sports injuries. That could be a recent surgery. That could be a flu that you've had or, some other catastrophic thing that has come along of late that you have had to deal with. It could be as simple as when you sit, you're sitting hunched, right? You're not even getting a full deep breath. Right. So the ability to move oxygen, intake oxygen, move oxygen throughout the body, these things can be impeded by any number of just physical ailments, whether that's a misalignment of the spine. Good chiropractor can work on that for you, but physical stress. And then the one that I'm always most concerned about would be the chemical stress on the body, because people don't think that counts, right? And there's so many ways that we encounter chemical stress on the body, from the air that we breathe, the water we drink, the food that we're eating, what man has done to food now with genetically modified seed and things that we're putting in the animals that that we're having. But it also goes to the personal care products that you're using, the microwave that we're using, the plastics that we're putting our food in, any number of things. So what I like to do is look at how to remove these stresses off of the body one by one, right? And let the cumulative effect of it start pulling stress away and returning the body back to ease and function and watching those symptoms go away. That's what we call corrective care, right? So that's what we call that. And then we move into maintenance after we can get people back to feeling well. Now, I put this slide in every lecture that I do. I do lectures all over the country, and I put this out there because if you're not familiar with the information that we put out, and you think those numbers, Dr. Sharp's numbers from his book, that seems like a lot, 70% of the population. Well, then I encourage you to go to the cdc.gov, right? Anybody can go there, write it down, c.gov/chronic disease, and you too can see this slide. What it says is that 6 in 10 adults in the US have a chronic disease, 3 months or longer, for which they're taking medication, right? 6 in 10. That's over 50% of the population. Now, if that were not alarming enough, you look further to the right, and it tells us that 4 in 10 have 2 or more. Now, why is that alarming? It's alarming because these 4 people were in the original 6 in 10, right? They were already seeing a provider. They were already given a pharmaceutical drug. And what? Yet they went on to get the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Here's some of the things that they list: heart disease, cancer, chronic lung disease, stroke, Alzheimer's, diabetes, any number of things. It goes on and on. But even in my practice, I can tell you it's unusual to see someone by the time they come to see me, because a naturopath, right? I'm not the first person they come to see. It's after they've gone from provider to provider who has said, I don't know, your labs are normal, right? Go see gastro. Oh, we all know your scan's normal. Go see endocrinology. But by the time they get to me, they're usually taking their hypertension medication, right? Their lisinopril, their, whatever, hydrochlorothiazide, pulling water off, whatever that may be. But then they're also taking what? Their blood sugar. And now their liver's not working properly, and they're not letting go of cholesterol. So now they're on a statin for cholesterol. And then when your hormones are dysregulated, well, now you got to have something for your thyroid. And it just kind of goes on and on. They get the switches brew of contraindications and cross side effects, and it can really be something. But this information is just it's public knowledge. It just always amazes me sometimes that we have eyes and yet we don't see, right? Ears and we don't hear. Now, here's where we get to the good stuff. This is the nutrient hierarchy. Now, hierarchy obviously being some things are more important than other things, right? Important to the least important. Most people are surprised when we look at these 5 groups of nutrients that group 1 is not even anything you put in your mouth, right? We've got air, water, sunlight, and the Earth's magnetic field. Now, this is the most of course, it's at the top of the hierarchy, but people overlook that. They tend to jump right to food or right to exercise. And it's like, no, let's start where we should be starting. Air, right? You can live a lot longer without fruit and vegetables than you can without air, right? You can live a couple minutes at the most without air. Same with water. You can live a few days without water, but not long, right? Sunlight, plants have to have light, people have to have light. And the Earth's magnetic field. Now, there's a negative, we can have a whole session on this, but the grounding that provides. The Earth is covered with a negative electron field, right? Our bodies are conductive. When we were made, we were not sitting inside of buildings and sleeping in homes and, with electrical wires everywhere and microwave oven and cell phones and laptops and things that were just constantly pounding us with these positive charges. So if you'd like to discharge some of that, go outside, right? Stand on the earth's surface and let the earth ground you and start pulling some of that off. I talk to people all the time and they will say, oh gosh, I went on vacation, I was at the beach and it's just different. I just feel so much better when I'm on vacation. And I grin because I think, yeah, you do. Why is that? Because you're outside, you're getting fresh air, there's water, you're getting sunlight into your eye, right? That's blocking melatonin. You feel awake, you're sleepier at the end of the day, you're probably walking barefoot on the sand. And if you're really lucky, you're holding hands with somebody who also makes you happy, makes you feel good. So, no, it's not a thing that you feel better when you're on vacation. You really do. But then we get to group 2, which is natural raw foods. These are fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Okay. If you're really smart, you noticed here that group 2 is really just a mini cocktail of group number 1. Everything here was grown in the ground. Everything here had to have sunlight, water, fresh air. All of that is baked into the seed, the leaves. The fruit has a high water content, right? It makes perfect sense that this would be next. What I like about it too is that group 2, it's so close to group 1, you don't even need to do much to prepare, to cook, to even have this most abundant source, right? So when I get people that say, I really don't like to cook, I think, great. Have I got something for you? Because you don't have to, right? Let's just eat the way we are supposed to. Then we get to group 3, the grains, legumes, wheat, corn, oats, rye, barley, beans, peas, right? These are things that were available to us after the flood, right? These are things that have a little bit longer shelf life to them. So if you are in a natural shelf life, right? Fruits, vegetables, after you pick them, you've pretty much you're on a timeline to consume them. These grains, these legumes, they last longer, but what? They do take a little bit more preparation too. Now, some people will say here that, oh, wheat, gluten, that's so bad. Well, some of these things weren't bad until man got involved and started messing with them, right? We've got genetically modified seed. We've got fertilizers that are being put on it. We've got companies now that actually, you've got to produce more off the same little plot of dirt to feed more people. So you have to put all the fertilizer in there to have a bigger yield. So they're actually genetically modifying the seed and putting the fertilizer in the seed. So when the seed bursts forth, so does the fertilizer. What could go wrong with that? Right? I mean, so it saves the process though, right? It's one step. Then we get to group 4, which are flesh foods, dairy products. And again, you can see the further away we get from group 1, the more preparation is needed here. Beef, pork, poultry, fish, these things inherently on their own are not problematic, again, until you look at how man can get involved and start messing these things up. There's a poultry company, a family-owned company. They've got commercials out right now talking about how they don't put antibiotics in their poultry, how their competitors do before the birds are even sick. We know that hormones are being pumped into animals, steroids, and you think, why is that? Well, because how are these things sold? These things are sold by the pound, right? So when you walk your cow across the scale, you want the cow to weigh as much as it can because that's how they're being sold. So some of this is just being mindful to really look at labels and understanding what you're getting. You don't want genetically modified seed. You don't want beef or pork that's got antibiotic, steroid, or hormones in them. That's why we see so many young people now at incredibly young ages that are maturing faster than they did years ago because we're now consuming all of these things. And then group 5, the refined and processed foods. Now, these are foods that you can put in your mouth and you can eat them, but they typically provide little, if any, nutritional value. A lot of calories, but no nutritional value. In my practice, I see a number of people who are overweight but undernourished. We call that overconsumptive malnutrition, right? They are eating, but when they have not given their body the nutrition that the body needs and craves, what happens? Well, you've already consumed all the calories, but your body still wants more because it's trying to get what it needs. So then you begin to overeat. And it's just, it goes on, the process goes on from there. And you've got additives for color and preservation, you've got food colorings and dyes and all kinds of things in that. And sadly, right, this is the majority of the standard American diet, the SAD diet, as we call it. So you've got the hierarchy of nutrients on the left, the good things, and then we start moving towards the left and we get to the standard diet. Now, when we go back and look, this is interesting. I threw a couple of these in there for you to see. We think that we live in the most evolved country on the planet. These things can't be happening right under our nose. These are slides of things where it absolutely does. You've got forest fires, you've got other things that are contaminating the air all the time, right? I'm embarrassed to tell you that the hands on the left there, that's my house. Those are my husband's hands. That is a water filter on our well. That's after 6 weeks of use, 6 weeks, not 6 months, 6 weeks. And what people don't realize is that if you have a well, it's not the government's job to make sure the water coming into your house is clean and good for consumption. It is your responsibility for that. And you can see here that you can either buy a filter or you can be a filter, because if you're taking in all that and your eye doesn't see it, right? The water coming in and out of my tap does not look like what's in that filter. It looks clean and normal, but that's what's in there. You'd be drinking it, cooking with it, bathing with it, washing your clothes with it, your babies with it. So, you really got to do your due diligence. And then, of course, we've got the Camp Lejeune water contamination problem that occurred at the Marine base, right, in Jacksonville, North Carolina, from 1953 to 1987. They found that the water was contaminated, and now people are coming down with all sorts of cancers, and the attorneys are chasing people trying to get the case. And then the picture here on the right is East Palestine, Ohio, after that train derailment that happened in 2023, right? So you hear about these things all the time. Now, again, on the left is a well, right? But if you're from my area, here in the Richmond, Hanover area, even just in January, right? We had the actual city water system, city and county water treatment plan. There was an equipment failure of some kind. I don't know. The pump was old, the pump broke, whatever it was, right? But sewage spilled into the water, and we had to boil water for days, right? To make sure that we were able to consume it. So really got to do your due diligence there on these hierarchy of nutrient things. This is a website you can go to if you're ever interested. You might want to write it down. It's the Environmental Working Group, ewg.org/tap water. And what this does, and they've got some really cool things here too. They've got the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen every year, the cleanest of the farm foods and the dirtiest ones. Some of them would surprise you, things that have really thin skin, like strawberries. They tend to absorb a lot of the fertilizer because the skin is so thin. You think you're eating well, but this water database is really cool, because down here at the bottom, you can put your zip code in. Right, when I put in mine, 23116, it tells me that our area is served by the Hanover Suburban Water System, and they're serving 57,931 people. You scroll further down, and it's going to tell you, here's what's in the water. Look at that. Look at that chloroform. And it also tells you the potential side effect, cancer, right? There is no legal limit to the chloroform that can be in the water. There's 26.1 parts per billion. That's 65 times more chloroform than what the Environmental Working Group believes should be in the water. So again, you scroll down a little bit further, and it just goes on and on. It tells you what's in the water specifically where you are, but it'll also tell you to find a filter and what kind of filter you should buy based on the contaminant in the water. You should look at that, right? Because if you spend a lot of money on a water filter and it doesn't even filter out the thing that is in your water, well, you've kind of wasted your time and your money, and you're still not fixing your water, right? All right. Now, back to the hierarchy of nutrients here. When we look at the hierarchy and we look at the standard American diet, where does that chart out here to this health continuum? The dynamic vitality and the optimum health people, they are eating from the left side, right? That's what they're eating. The suboptimal and the debilitating illness, they're eating off the right side. And that's how we see the hierarchy of nutrients and diet fitting into the health continuum. So what do you do about it? In my practice, we do a number of functional labs. We do blood, stool, saliva, urine, and IIOM has a number of labs, and RBTI that they're teaching people how to do. When you do that, you've got clinical assessments, and then you've got your lab work. You can lay the subjective data of what someone can tell you, how they tell you they experienced something, and the objective data of lab work. You can lay that one on top of the other and find the healing opportunities and start to address them one by one. But as it goes, diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, supplementation, spiritual health, and temperance. Diet, you'd want to go for obviously removing food sensitivities, but category 1, 2, 3, and some of 4, when we looked at those hierarchy of nutrients. That's where you want to focus dietary patterns. Rest. Sleep is obviously the big component of rest. We have sleep hygiene that we can share with people. But don't forget that rest is more than just sleep. Rest is Sabbath rest, creating healthy boundaries around things, and even if that's things you need to do, like your job, your work, right? You still have to have time to rest your mind, to step away from your job, to appreciate it, to be able to go back to it with a fresh mind, to have time to develop and cultivate relationships with family, with friends, showing up for other people, creating these meaningful relationships, right? All those things are part of rest. Exercise is one of those things. I hate even the word exercise, because I say exercise and the first thing people say is, ugh. They just don't think positively about it. So I like movement better than the word exercise. I tell people that everybody doesn't have to be flipping tires in the parking lot. CrossFit isn't for everybody. If that's where you are, beautiful, right? But most of the people that I work with are not doing that. We are exercising and moving to circulate blood, right? To circulate oxygen, lymph, to detox via sweat and breath, right? To create and hold on to muscle, to have balance as we get older. These are reasons, right? And your heart is going to pump blood, but lymph, your heart is not pumping lymph, right? That's why people that have lymphedema, a lot of swelling and water accumulation in the legs. What do we have them do? We have them lay down and put their feet up, right? So that the gravity can pull all that off of there. But you need lymph and you need to circulate it. They're like the little Pac-Men, right, that are constantly eating away at disease in the body. So exercise, you need to move lymph, even if it's just moving your arms. If you're in a wheelchair or something and you can't do a lot of exercising, you can move your arms. You can do what you can to move lymph. Stress reduction. We talked about mental stress, physical stress, chemical stress. What I would say to you here is that stress reduction is not the same thing as stress management. Stress management, it's good to have tools, right? And Harvard has some amazing things in a stress manual that they have. But you're rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic if all you're doing is managing stress. You want to offload stress. You want to figure out how to handle mental stress, how to process it. You want to figure out how to calm your mind and evoke that response anytime you need it. And again, pulling away physical and chemical stressors. Supplementation is one of those things that we supplement but not as much as you might think, right? We're not trying to do a one-on, one-off where you don't take this this medication. Never stop taking a medication that a doctor has given you without their consent, right? I'm not anti-doctor. There are times when you need a medication for some reason, but generally speaking, we're going to give supplements to someone as we try to substitute something that's missing from the diet until we can figure out how to get it in there, right? Or support something while we work on it. Maybe we need to support the liver for a little bit with some masticum or turmeric, while we're working on something, or to keep you from taking pain medication, whatever it may be, right? But the goal is that you get these things from your diet, and that it's based off of micronutrient and enzyme deficiency, any kind of supplementation that we're doing here. When it comes to like even something as benign as vitamin C, yeah, you could take a vitamin C tablet, or I'd rather see you eat the orange, because when you eat the orange, right, you're also getting the other vitamins and minerals that are in the orange. You're getting the fiber, you're getting the nutrition of it. It's taking up room in your stomach, right, to ease hunger. Whereas if you just pop the tablet, you're not getting any of that. And when we go back and look at that standard American diet that we were just talking about, what we see is that group 5 doesn't even have any enzymes to it, right? Enzymes are the natural things in food that help us break it down. So if you're eating things that don't even have enzymes in it, you got to hope you have a lot of good stomach acid, right? And that you're chewing very well to even break it down, because you cannot use what you cannot break down and assimilate. So all these things start making a better picture when you put them all together. Spiritual health. Our program is probably a little bit different because we include spiritual health as part of our program. It is known and documented that there are better clinical outcomes when people have strong spiritual health. There are better clinical outcomes when people are happy, as opposed to when they are not, when they feel that they've got strength and they've got a relationship they can draw from. So we put that right into our program. We pray with patients if they're comfortable with that. If they're not, that's okay. We pray for them after they leave. We remember them in prayer in the morning. But we always encourage people to go back, even if you don't have that currently, go back and look and see how you grew up and what was, were there anybody in your family that could help you draw on that? Read your Bible, read your scripture, your text of choice, right? You can pray, you can fast, there's almsgiving, there's fellowship, there's gratitude, all types of ways for you to take your spiritual health to the next level and celebrate spiritual holidays and make them meaningful to you and to your family. And then lastly would be temperance. Cannot say enough about that, right? So many problems we would avoid if we just exercised temperance. Temperance is not all things in moderation, right? Temperance is good things in moderation and abstinence from injurious things. There are some things that we just don't need. If you're not sleeping, people will say to me, well, what do you think about balsamic? What do you think about that? It's like, look, you don't have a balsamic deficiency, right? You don't need balsamic to sleep. We need to understand why. You don't need alcohol to cope. We need to work on some stress reduction. So keeping all of those things in mind, diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, supplementation, spiritual health, and temperance. That is how I build a naturopathic program that is individualized for each person. I don't know where we are time-wise here, but I'm going to point this book out to you one more time because this is a life-changing book here by Dr. Jim Sharps. It's The Basic Principles of Total Health, the Hierarchy of Nutrients. And again, write it down, go out there on YouTube. Those lectures are incredible. There were ones done at the Remnant SDA Church and the Environmental Working Group. You might want to make a note of that too, because there are a ton of resources there to help you with your own health and with the health of patients in your clinic. And I'm happy to take some questions if you have any.
Just open your mics. That was great. Kimberly, thank you. And so just open up, your microphones. You can go ahead and ask questions. And don't be shy because usually you guys get comfortable and then we run out of time. So just open up and ask your question. Hi, Sherry.
Hey. My question would be, you do this so professionally. What did you do before you became a naturopath?
I was a nurse.
Okay.
I was a nurse with a very large healthcare system. I don't need to say which one it was, probably, but the initials are HCA. And I'll tell you, Sherry, I worked with some of the most wonderful, godly people. I mean, they were good folks. I had a good experience there, but I can tell you that the problem is that it is a business model.
Mm-hmm.
It's a business model. You think the doctor is the boss. The doctor's not the boss. The doctor's a paid employee, just like the receptionist, right? And the business model said that we would see 32 people a day as a minimum, right? And we would talk about 3 things or more. Even if I had to ask you, have you fallen lately? Sherry, do you feel comfortable in your home, right? Because these are things we can put on the ticket. So 15 minutes, I would go in and get your vitals. I would go through your medication list. I would go through your current, symptoms, blah, blah. And then the doctor would come in and he would have 15 minutes, which is not long enough to even really, but that's what he had. So it's not really their fault that they're practicing medicine the way they do. He doesn't have a whole lot more time than to give it a diagnosis code and put a pharmaceutical drug with it and tell you to come back.
Right.
That's what they have. Or my favorite was always, we're going to watch it. We're going to come back, right? Just come back in 3 months. But what they're really saying is you're not sick enough yet to give you a pharmaceutical drug or a
prescription.
She got frozen.
She got frozen. While she's frozen, I'll tell you that I used to sell office furniture. And when we did physicians' offices, we had to do enough seating for 50 patients a day. So yes, they don't have any time.
They don't. And they're good people, right? They didn't go spend all of that money to practice medicine that way either. I do think it breaks their heart a lot of the time, but it's the model that they're in, and that's how it is.
Yeah. Well, thank you. You're very professional, and I just appreciate your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for the feedback, Sherry. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. We have a question from Antoinette. What filter do you use?
I use, I hate to tell you that my husband handles that, but it's not reverse osmosis. It is a full home system that we use, and it's got some filter that comes with the home system. But we did go and look and see what's in the water and made sure that the filter that we purchased filtered out the chloroform and whatever else were the high contaminants in the water. You can even do those. Home Depot has the kits for free, by the way. You can go into any Home Depot and pick up a little water kit and test your water and send it off, and they'll tell you. But that environmental working group, if you just put your zip code in there, it'll tell you what is in the water system that serves your home.
Great information. And you can, search out online when you find out what's in your water. And there's certain systems that they'll recommend for you. And then you can call them and question them before you just go categorically buying them.
For
because
sure.
they will try and sell you expensive systems. Where I live, I refused to move in. I knew about the water before I got here. So I put a system in my home too, but
Right.
I have it system coming in, filtered once you're here, and then I put it through the distiller also. So
Beautiful.
we just trying to stay healthy because we know that there's a lot going in the water systems, going in the ground, going in, every which way. So even if we have good water, we recommend that you filter your water.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's see. Do we have any other questions? Anybody can just open up their mics and
Yeah,
ask.
I have a question concerning, good afternoon. Thank you for the presentation. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Looks
Um,
like Annette. Who are you?
yeah, it's
Oh,
it's
okay.
Annette, yes. This is Annette
Very good.
Mitchell.
Hello.
Okay.
Are you there?
I am.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So concerning
So
the
under the
filter
close
and
surveillance
water
camera, you know,
scene that,
Okay,
nobody,
we have two people speaking at the same
Yeah.
time. Okay, we're going to have one person speaking at the same time, Annette, and then whoever else was just speaking, please. You can ask your question.
yes, while we're on water, how about the the distiller, is that better than the filter, or can you use both to filter your water, or, process the water?
I think you could use both. I think that probably the very best, as I understand it, and Dr. Jim Sharps could probably address this better than I could, but the reverse osmosis it's got everything. It's got pros and cons to it, right? That one's probably the best when it comes to filtering things out, but it does, people say, well, it does waste some water as well, and it's not the least expensive option. So it really kind of depends on what's your budget, how can you do it. But yes, and a lot of times too, and what we're going for is, the whole hierarchy, right? Good, better, best. You do the best you can as you can, and when you can afford to move up to the next one, move up to the next one. But just avoid the obvious, the obvious things when it comes to making sure that you have some sort of filter, because honestly, I mean, even on a well, a well is different from city water. City water, they're trying to do what they can. A well, it's just up to you if you have a well. And you could see that filter. That was 6 weeks. And again, the tap water, you turn it on and it looks fine, right? It looks, you don't see that in the water. You'd never drink it if you saw it. Right. But when it captures, the filter captures it, you go, oh my goodness, I'd have been washing my clothes in that, my grandbabies in that.
What I would recommend is both, actually, because filters will grab as much as they can. And by doing that doesn't mean that they'll catch it all, even when they are made to catch, depending on how bad that water is. So if you're taking what comes out of, let's say, that filtered into your home from the tap, and then you distilled it, at least for sure for your drinking, you want to ensure that you are getting the cleanest possible water. And one of the things that we always talk about when we speak on water is the fact that RBTI will give you an idea of what's going on, because distilled water is the best for things, and that's a whole conversation as well. And so we want to make sure that you understand how water is used in the body. Dr. Sharps, I see your hand is up. Why don't we let you speak?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I wanted to say we, as you know, Dr. Elisa, we have a whole house water system, and we have 3 filtering mechanisms on that. But the interesting thing about that is we also filter that to make it, well, we take that water and make it distilled water. And there's still a residue at the bottom. So that chart that you showed, Dr. Boehm, was so powerful. But I really didn't have a question. I just wanted to make a comment. And the comment was that this was an absolutely superb presentation. I took notes to make sure the next time I present the hierarchy of nutrients, I do it properly, and I use the kind of constructs and the approach that you use. So that was absolutely superb. And this is one of those cases where the teacher is taking notes from the student. Thank you very much for that very superb, well done presentation.
Thank you, sir.
That's
That means
the
so much.
comment.
You taught me well.
I wanted to know.
You've done well, yes. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments that they'd like to ask Dr. Kim? So you guys got that all down. So you all know about your hierarchy of nutrients. You know how you're going to go change your diet. You know how, or you already have your diet intact and you're working this program. So, what that means is when I ask you guys that, yes, it was a superb presentation. when I ask you guys to join us tomorrow on that walk, you guys should be up and ready because not that hits up them all. Air, water, sunlight. You know, we're out there exercising and we're just sharing. So you're working your spiritual outlook as well. And that link is in the chat so that nobody has an excuse not to join us tomorrow morning. That's 8 a.m. Eastern time. And we do have a lot of fun. You know, we have a core group that shows up all the time, but every so often we get a visitor. So Dr. Kimberly, I hope you join us tomorrow morning. I don't know when your day starts, so.
It starts at 8, but I'm up, my husband and I are up every day. We get up at 3, we go to the gym every day, just we have for 30 years. So we'll get it in there. But yeah, but I'm gonna do that someday. I would love to join you. Maybe I'll sneak in a little bit late and get my
That'll be wonderful. Chris, I see you have a hand up.
Yes, I would like to ask Dr. Boehm, when you, I understand you have an active practice going full time.
Yes.
How did you start out from zero? Like, did you start with one patient at a time? Did you start with
We don't have any patients here, guys. We have clients. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I actually get that question a lot, Chris. And so, yes, I did start with one, but I will tell you what I did to get that first one. Because after you get one, they have a good experience and they tell the next person who tells the next person, and it kind of grows exponentially. I started doing free lectures. It was awkward, it was uncomfortable, but I started doing free lectures on insomnia, on fibromyalgia, on, you know, whatever it may have been. I started doing them, and I started doing them at my library. The first one went well. They asked me to do all the libraries in the circuit, which were, I think in my area, there are like 8 libraries. I went and did these free lectures, and people just wanted to sign up after the lecture. It was kind of unbelievable. So I would go do 8 lectures on fibromyalgia. Then I would start the loop all over again and do 8 more on you're too sweet, high blood sugar. I say goodnight to insomnia, you know, whatever it was. But that's how I started getting out there and getting, people to know who I am and what I do and how it was different. And it just kind of, persistence. Yeah, that's how I did it.
And I think that's one of the best things that you can say. When you're out there giving good information and people have results, they will continue to tell the next one. And that's the best way to grow a naturopathic business, I think. You know, because we're not really looking to be out there advertising. What you teach and how you live is your natural advertising.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of advertising. I have to say it typically is word of mouth. And I work with people all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because somebody has a daughter in Texas or my mother-in-law is in wherever, and then they have a good experience. And I found too that, you know, again, we're doing functional lab testing, but there's a national network of mobile phlebotomists. I mean, you can go anywhere and have a phlebotomist go draw a tube of blood, or certainly stool kits you could send to their home, saliva kits you could send to their home, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
I'm sorry. Dr. C, go ahead.
So much. I appreciate your response to that, and thanks for a great presentation. I learned a lot, so thanks so much.
Thank you. I can't really make that out.
Dr. C, we can't hear you. I don't know if you want to go out and come back in. You're really kind of muffled. We can't understand. Try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
That's better. Mm-hmm.
I was referring to that health continuum. And by the way, I said earlier that thank you for your presentation. That was very productive and meaningful. So the question I had was the health continuum you had in your presentation. Was that before COVID? I was referring to your illness.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know
that actually came right out of Dr. Sharp's book, The Basic Principles of Health. That came, I think it's page 20 or 22, right out of the book there. So yeah, that was before the kind of pandemic.
Okay, so So they'll be a little different now because of the COVID jab.
Oh,
There's
yes,
health
I would
issues like
imagine it would be. Yeah, I can imagine it would be.
Vicky, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. It was very good. Definitely very informative on your steps on getting started, because I think that's usually a lot of us and our, maybe fears and insecurities. Of course, we love to think more pessimistic, but we shouldn't, because the Lord is with us and we do have good information. You mentioned a network of phlebotomists or phlebotomy. What network do you work with, if that's okay to ask?
Yeah, it just depends. Any of the labs that you would work with that that have blood draws, typically you can go to their website and they will have a national network. So you don't even have to, try to find a network, but you can even Google mobile phlebotomists. I mean, there are a lot of people. I'm a phlebotomist. There are a lot of people who have a phlebotomy certificate who do things on the side. Anthem has a number of them, right? Because they're always doing the life insurance physical, where the RN will come to your home. She'll get your height, your weight. She'll run through a number of things. She'll draw your blood. But there's a whole group of them. And you can even, any of these labs, there's Fastest Labs, there's Any Lab Test Now, there's Quest, LabCorp. You can pretty much go anywhere for a blood draw. It's really not as complicated as you might think.
Okay, so no doctor's orders needed for let's say I work with LabCorp a lot over here. So you can go through them and order lab work for
Well, you
clients?
can go to LabCorp. They have a online, you can go to their website and you can order your own lab test.
Okay.
If you don't have a prescriber or a doctor who has written you an order for one, as an individual, you can go get your own. Now, you can't go get one for me, right?
Okay.
You can't write me an order to go get one, but you can go
So
get your own.
you recommend your clients what blood work you would want them to order for themselves?
Well, yeah, I just order it for them, right? I can order it for them. So I order a blood draw for food sensitivity, then we do saliva testing for hormone dysregulation. We do a GI map stool sample for things like H. pylori, candida, yeast, parasites, gut dysbiosis.
If I could jump in there, Vicky, she can do that because of her other credentials.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that those listening as naturopaths, you cannot do that.
Right.
So
Okay.
You
I
can
just
direct
want to
them to
make
get
that
their
clear.
own.
Right.
Yeah.
You can direct them to get their own, but you cannot order them as she
Right.
is talking
That's
about.
what I was trying to dig. So, and I'm so sorry, I don't mean to keep digging further. Your other credentials would be, is it your RN license? Because I'm an RN as well. So I don't think I ever knew that I can order labs for someone.
No. So what you would have to do is you'd have to have an arrangement with a medical
provider.
doctor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's called medical oversight, by the way.
Mhm.
So there's a fee to have someone who's familiar with your work. It's kind of like the nurse practitioner relationship with the doctor. They can write for so much, but they cannot write pharmaceutical, like pain medications without medical oversight. So yeah, there's some, and feel free, we can talk offline about that if you like to. My email address is here. I'm happy to take.
I would love that. I don't think I see it. Is it in the chat?
I did put it in the chat. But you can feel free to put it in again, Kimberly, if like.
Sure.
And I also just wanted to throw out there, I know not to overstep, not to step on anybody's shoes, but we don't focus on blood tests.
Right.
With what she does in her practice, she does do those things for other reasons. But as what we do as naturopaths, we do focus more on the RBTI because it will tell us more about what's going on in the body and how we work with the body and changing diet and lifestyle. That is where we put our focus. So just because, this is open to all the different people that come on, as IIOM, we always want to throw out our first focus. Not that I'm saying that there's never a need for it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that at IIOM, that's not where our focus is. So, but Thank you, Kimberly, because I know that there's a time and place, and I know that functional medicine folks do use it. So I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes. I just make it clear to everybody else listening. So any last minute questions? I think it's been great, Kimberly. I thank you so much. I look forward to the next presentation. And like I said, don't forget tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern time, that we have our walk. We'll be out there, even though the weather's changing and now it's going back to cold. But we will be out there working and getting our blood pumping. And also, if we don't see you then, don't forget, ask the doctor on Friday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time for 15 minutes. Bring your live questions for Dr. Jim. And if not, we will see you next week, Tuesday 2 on the water cooler. You guys have a blessed evening. Thanks so much for joining. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Blessings to all.